Hi, I'm Colin.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Drew.
We're the Gamesmiths, and we're here to play Raid today. Ryan is going to teach us the rules.
All right, Raid. As Odin grows weaker, the gods are vying for domination of the seven realms. Now they compete for the mortal realm of Midgard, relying on their loyal warriors to claim victory. Can you and your village lead your god to victory? Draft warriors, build longboats, battle your opponent's longboats, and raid their village. In the end, only one village will survive, and only one god will be declared the new ruler.
Okay.
So,
Fun.
that is Raid. Raid is a strategic micro deck building card game with a Norse mythology theme focused on competitive play. Its core gameplay is for 2 players, but there is a 3 to 4 player variant. Raid takes about 15 minutes to play around, but most people play best of 3. In Raid, you take control of a Norse god and draft/draw your warriors to your clan. The goal is to build longboats from your warriors, destroy the other player's longboats, and finally raid the other player by sending your warriors to their village. The player with the least amount of raid damage at the end of the game wins. To further help you defeat your enemy, you can use your god and rune powers available to you. Go forth and conquer Midgard. Objective, the player with the least amount of raid damage at the end of the game wins. So we've got kind of a card battle game here, and every time you can successfully attack your opponent, you'll do some damage to them, but you don't have a life total. You're just going to play until the deck runs out, and then you see who took the most damage over the course of the game. So to set up, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to deal 6 cards to each player. We separate the deck out into, sorry, let's back up a little bit. We separate the deck out into warriors, runes, and gods. We go over here to show the difference. So warriors are the bulk of they're the big deck here. They're the bulk of the game, and you use them to form longboats, like they're saying. So basically, you lay them down and you use them to attack. They're ranked from 1 to 10 in power, 1 being the least powerful, 10 being the most powerful. And there are each card has its power right here, and its color, which matters. And then down here at the bottom is this either +1 or +2 that is their raid damage. And then they each have a picture, a name, and a flavor text description right there. And some of the special ones, the flavor text is in black. Some cards are special. They're your elite warriors, and they will have additional game text in gold. So this one, the Valkyrie, kills 1 played warrior. So when you play a troll normally, or a berserker here, or any card without this extra gold text on it, nothing really happens. You just kind of play it. So I'm going to play a 6, I'm going to play an 8, and then I'm going to play a 10. But when I play this 10, it says kill 1 played warrior. That means I do a thing right then.
Okay.
We'll get into that a little bit more, what those all do. So what the goal is to build longboats. And longboats are cards, are stacks of up to 4 cards. So we'll just go ahead and flip these out. I should put them in order. Yeah, well, I don't want to have doubles just because that's... There we go. Perfect. Okay. So this one here says Chelsea's longboat 10, 9, 8, 1. This is my longboat 10, 6, 8, 5.
They have to be in descending order.
Let me actually look. Building longboats. I don't know if they have to be in the examples. They are all in order from highest to lowest. So I think, yes, you should put them in order highest to lowest, okay. I guess. So, yeah, okay. So 10, 8, 6, 7, blah, blah, blah. Perfect. So, if Chelsea and I as boats were going to fight each other here, I would say I'll attack, and I'm going to say, okay, my boat's going to attack Chelsea's boat, and what we're going to do is just kind of compare cards that line up to each other, and whoever has the highest wins. Tie, they both die. So the 10s are both going to die because we both have 10s.
Okay.
But then your 9 beats my 8. So my 8 goes away. Your 8 beats my 6.
Yes.
But then my 5 beats your 1.
Okay.
And so the end of this fight would be Chelsea left with a 9 and an 8, and me left with a 5.
So I would win.
Yeah, basically. You have to get past your opponent's longboats to actually do damage to each other.
Oh,
But
okay.
these are how the longboats interact. So that's just kind of the basics of the game go like that. So now let's say this game actually ended like this. Let's say what do we got? 9 and then 8 and then I'll have a 2 here. No, that won't work because I can do math. So I'm going to do 8. Yeah, there we go. 8, 6, 5. So now let's say we're going to fight like this. If one boat has more than the other, this boat is allowed to go help. Or I'm sorry, this warrior is allowed to go help any other warrior. So I can decide to pair this 5 with this 8. So that's 13, and then I beat your 9, but then your 8 beats my 6. And we would end up with like 8 and 5 like that. Or I can decide to send the 6 to help the 5, and then my 8 would lose to yours 9, but then my 6 and my 5 would beat your 8, and we would end like this.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
so
everyone?
then it's a 9 versus 11 total.
Basically, yeah. And if they fought again, so I'll get into that in a second here. So I just wanted to show you kind of the basics of combat. So what you're actually going to do on your turn is you start with 6 cards in your hand. Oh, I skipped over these. The other thing that you get to start with are everyone's going to have an exact set of these rune cards, which is 2 oarsmen, which have 0s, but notice the 0s are both colors, and so they're kind of like wild cards.
There's 2 colors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So these are kind of like wild cards. They help in any color and in any combination to help you. It basically powers up your boats if you have combinations. And then Ragnarok destroys all longboats. But
Including yours.
yeah, including yours. So it just basically destroys all the warriors that are out there. But you'll sustain 3 raid damage. So these actually have costs to use. So this actually scores basically 3 points against yourself. So you can use this, like if you're way behind, like, oh man, Chelsea's going to kill me next turn. I'm just going to use Ragnarok. I'm going to destroy everything. I take basically a 3-point penalty for doing that because it does 3 raid damage to me. And raid damage is how you lose the game if you have the most. But I get to do that. So I can decide not to use it throughout the game.
Do the longbow cards also cost? Because like
They do not. No, they deal raid damage. They do not cost raid damage.
Oh, okay.
So these say right on here, sustain 3 raid damage. And this one says here, so this one's the Well of Mimir, draw 2 warriors, but sustain 2 raid damage. So if you're low on cards, you can basically decide to pay 2 health or 2 points to draw some more cards.
So what are these numbers on the bottom?
So
the
those
plus
are for
2,
when you
plus
actually deal damage to your opponent.
Like get through with a longbow.
Correct.
Okay.
So the final thing that you have is your God card, and these are just, there's 10 of them. Everyone will get 1. It's random. Your opponent doesn't know what it is, but it's one big time move that you can kind of play whenever you want on your turn. So this one is kill a played warrior and send it to your opponent as raid damage. So that's one where you can basically kill their own guy and cause them to lose points for it. This one is send 2 warriors from your hand immediately to your opponent as raid damage. So you just take 2 cards out of your hand and so there, you just took damage. So these are powerful one-time effects. There's 10 different ones, and you're not going to know which one your opponent has. You each get 1. You get it at the beginning of the game. You can use it whenever you want, but that's it. You only get 1.
Okay.
So, but kind of leaving these rune and god cards out of it, your basic turn will go. You start with 6 cards in your hand. You start by drawing. You can draw up to 3 warrior cards at the beginning of each turn, but you can never have more than 7 cards. So since I'm starting with 6 in my hand, the first turn I'm just going to draw 1, and then I'm up to 7, and I got to stop. Then the next phase is the building phase. I can I can lay down as many warriors as I want. So I could lay down my whole hand of 7 if I wanted to. You can have up to, and you can lay them down in whatever configuration you want, but you cannot have more than 3 longboats at any point in the game. Meaning I've got 7 cards, so I could go 4 and 3 and make 2 longboats like that.
Okay.
Or I could go 3, 3 and keep 1 in my hand. Or but I couldn't go 1, 1, and 1 and like this. I couldn't say I have 4 boats like that.
How many can you
3
have
is
in
the
one
maximum.
longboat?
4 is
Okay.
4. So
So a maximum of 12 warrior cards down at a time.
Ba-
So
Basically,
2
yes.
longboats, only 4 each.
3 longboats. You can have up to 3.
3 longboats.
Of
and
4 each.
Only
So,
4
yeah.
each.
So a possible total of 12 on the
And you can
battlefield.
add to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if I want to, and so your longboats cannot attack until there are 4 in the longboat, but they can be attacked before that.
Oh, okay.
So if you only put out 3 and then I put out 4 and attack it, or if you put out a 4 and a 3, I could put out 4 and then use my 4 to attack your 3, kind of thing like that. So you got to think about, you don't
Can
necessarily
you
just want to do a bunch of
at
things.
that point, or is it just
It's just
straight-
determined the way that the battles, like, because you've already lined up your cards, so
Yeah.
you'd have your 3 from top to bottom, and I'd have my
So
4
it
from
would
top
just
to
be
bottom,
yeah.
and they would just work out like
It's
they
there's
work
3
out.
lanes.
Right.
Okay.
But you would get to pick how you want to do it. So, and you can even, to battle an opponent's longboat, like we said, you have to have 4. If you don't have any longboats, then you can just send 1 in as raid damage. So if I have my thing set up like this, 10, I know numbers, 10, 6, 5, 2, and Chelsea has nothing, I'm going to just say, I'm going to attack Chelsea with my longboat here, and I'm going to take this card here that's 1 raid damage and just give it to her. And now you have that, and you have 1 damage against you, and I'm
Okay.
winning the game right now. So if I could, in theory, do that on my first turn, I could just slap down 3 of these, and then I could attack you. But the attack phase is after the build phase, so I wouldn't have an opportunity to like refurbish my guy then. Then you would have an opportunity to just attack this at a lower power because I sent 1 over to you.
But you always
So it's
lose
build
your
phase
bottom
and then
guy.
attack phase.
Correct.
And then that. and then
It says
that.
you get to decide. So if I wanted to, this one here is a more powerful card, but it also does more damage. So if I wanted to deal 2 damage to Chelsea, I could send over this one if I want to. I choose which one I send over.
But that's losing a 10 versus
Right.
for 2 damage versus
Right.
losing a 2
Right.
for 1 damage.
So I might do that if it was close to the end of the game. The game ends when you're drawn out of warrior cards. So I might do that if it's the last turn or something like that, and I just want to get in as much damage before the end of the game. But other than that, I'd probably send my weakest. As a matter of strategy, that was going to be my base strategy, yes.
Yeah.
So then attacking, if any of your so that's kind of the basics right there. Then the final thing we got to do is longboat combinations. So another important component of building longboats is creating warrior combinations to improve its effectiveness. Any longboat that has 2 warriors of the same type, so 2 of a kind, can attack immediately that turn, even if it has fewer than 4 warriors. So if I have 2 6s in my hand,
And
and
they're
there's-
all trolls.
yes, all 6s are trolls, and there are 4, 2 of each color.
Okay.
So
So the color doesn't have to match just the.
yeah. So wait, hold on. Let me see here. Actually, Hero cards. Yeah. I think we're only using 1 deck because there is a second deck, but I don't think that's for the kind of tournament, more competitive version. So there are 4 of a kind. There are 4 of each. If you have a double, that can attack immediately that turn, even if it has fewer than 4 warriors. So does that make sense? So I could just lay down both of these 6s, and then this one can attack as a 2, and I can just go, okay, troll, and then I'm going to attack and send that one to Chelsea
Gotcha.
because she doesn't have any defenders.
Troll team 6.
Yep. Triple, any longboat that has 3 warriors of the same time can attack immediately 2 times in the same turn. So I play 3 6s, and I could conceive of, or what I could do is like, let's say Chelsea does have like this dire wolf up as a blocker. I could go, okay, I put these 3 6s down. They're going to attack once and kill Chelsea's 1 wolf. And that when they die, they just go to the discard pile. They don't go to anybody's. No one takes damage for it. And then for my second attack, I'll just send this troll in and deal damage.
Okay.
Quad can attack immediately 3 times in the same turn.
Yikes.
So if you manage to get
Hard to
all,
do.
if you manage to get all 4 6s, you can attack with that same boat 3 times. And double, any longboat that has 2 doubles can attack 3 times in the same turn.
So like 2 6s and 2 5s.
Correct. And raid party, any longboat that has 4 warriors from the same clan, so they're all the
Same
same
color.
color. Yep, can skip battling an opponent's longboat and instead immediately send their opponent a warrior card as damage.
Wow, that's nice.
So they're just
Unblockable.
basically, ignore the defense. So then let's talk about the special cards real quick. There are the oarsmen, which we talked about before. There they are. They can be placed like warriors on longboats during the build phase of your turn. These you'll always have access to, and you'll actually leave them face up on the table, so your opponent will know exactly how many of these you have, too. Like you play it open hand basically with these. You have 2. Everybody gets 2 oarsmen, and then 1 Ragnarok and 1 well. So you'll just have this sitting out, and both players will just have that sitting out. So Chelsea will have, let's say she's used her Momir, so I can see, or her Mimir, her well, so I can see that. I can see she has, so when I want to play this, I'll just play it like that, set it aside, and now Chelsea can see what I have for those.
When are you able to play this again?
Huh?
When are you able to play those
On your
cards?
turn, whenever you want on your
On
turn.
your turn? You
Yeah.
can't play them just whenever?
No, you need to play them on your turn.
Oh.
So the oarsmen are placed like warriors. So these are 0s. They're placed just like your other number cards at the same time you could place your other number cards. They have 0 power, but represent either color. On a longboat, once on a longboat, they automatically allow that to attack.
Okay.
If your longboat already has 2 warriors of the same type, then it becomes a triple and can now attack 2 times, as though it had 3. So basically, it powers it up. You can let it attack immediately. It kind of serves as just as a total wild card, any color, any number. So if I have a 6 and a 6 here, I put this down. Now this thing is allowed to attack 2 times this turn, as if it had 3 6s.
Okay.
And if both of those 6s happen to be the same color, oh, here it is, then I would also have a raiding party. And I could, let's say Chelsea has that 6 to defend. I could put this oarsman on here. Now I have 3. This thing can attack twice, and it can ignore defenders. So I could just send these 2 over to Chelsea just like that. Because, did everyone understand how that
Yeah.
worked?
Can you send more than... Like, if you do raid damage, you can send 2 cards as raid damage?
You send a raid for each time you attack. So
okay,
I
I see.
put this down, which it allows me now to attack 2 times, ignoring defending longboats.
Yeah.
So first attack, ignoring defending longboat. Second attack, ignoring defending longboat.
Cool.
Then, okay, so that
What about being God? Is that
makes sense. So your
playing
Ragnarok,
God?
what's that?
Playing your God card, that's only during the beginning of the game? Or
No.
can play that
You get
anytime?
that at the beginning of your game. You can play it once during the turn. So you get
During-
one.
and that's during your turn as well.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna get
Okay.
that. So Ragnarok and the Well of Momir, which we've talked about, can be played at any time during your turn. When played, that player takes the raid damage specified on the card in exchange for using its ability.
Okay.
So basically, you just set it in your damage pile like it was something that your opponent attacked you
damage
with.
you.
Yep.
But those are the rune cards. The god cards are different. Like the
Yeah. So then the God cards, this is your random single-use card that both you and your opponent are dealt at the beginning of the game. You can play the God card at any time during your turn.
Yeah, that's the only thing I need clarification on.
And then to clarify it, so you get a build phase, an attack phase, and then what happens after attack phase? Is that just the end of your turn?
Yep. Then you're done unless you want to play. I suppose you could play your
God card.
God card before you passed your turn back to the opponent.
so the god card is
A
you can play
one-time
that.
use.
It's one time use, but you can play it at any time.
On
At
your turn.
On right at any time on your turn.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
You can basically never play on your opponent's turn in this game. You only play on your turn.
Right. Sure.
Once a warrior is placed on a longboat, it cannot be moved to another longboat. If any of your longboats, we've already talked about that. When attacking multiple times with a single longboat, that was one other thing I almost missed. Is you can use 2 longboats to attack one, and in that case, they're just going to line up with their power, how they line up. So, or they just double up like they're supporting each other. So if I had this one that was like 10, 9, 6, 6.
That sounds ugly.
Yeah. And then I have like, I don't know, we'll put this oarsman on here. So that allows this wolf one to attack at the same time. And then let's say Chelsea has, like a 10, right? And I want to attack Chelsea, but I'm worried, this is our setup. And I want to attack Chelsea, but our 10s are just going to trade off. And I don't want to lose my 10. So what I can do before I attack, I'm like, I'll play this dire wolf and this oarsman. So now this can attack this turn too.
And
So
they can
now
support the
both
other
of these
10.
boats are going to attack Chelsea. So now this is a 15 that beats Chelsea's 10, and this is a 0 and a 9, which beats Chelsea's 7, and then these two tie. So Chelsea would get wiped out there, and I would be left with 2 boats like this.
Yikes.
And then,
But at least you didn't do any raid damage.
correct. And then I would pass turn back to Chelsea, and she would get a chance to rebuild
Yeah.
her stuff. And maybe attack me if she can figure out how to get around this mess, or just try and build up her defenses for next time.
Yep.
So that's how that works.
And then you
So
just
how many of these can you lay down in a turn?
As far as I can tell,
As
as many
many?
as you want.
Yeah,
You only get to
okay.
draw 3. So if you lay down all
Draw 3.
7, then on the next turn you're only going to have 3. You're not going to get back up to 7.
Yeah.
But yeah. So then the elite warriors, we'll go over those real quick. All of the 10s, there's actually more 10s than anything.
okay.
So there's the Norn, the Jarl, the Valkyrie, and I forget what the last one is.
Dire? Oh no.
Norns. Oh no, I'm sorry. There's just 3. Norns, Valkyries, and Jarls. So there's 3 sets of 10, right? So there's 4 of every number except for 10s. There's 12 10s. The Jarl, steal 1 non-combined warrior from an enemy longboat and place it onto one of your longboats. So that just means
Uncombined.
combined means part of a set. So if I had 2 Valkyries here,
okay.
your Jarl couldn't steal one of my Valkyries. It would have to steal the giant, let's say.
Okay.
One thing that's not actually said here is the oarsman can always be stolen. The Jarl can always steal oarsmen.
So does that happen as soon as you lay it down, or
Yes.
okay?
So if my table was like this, there's my first turn, that's pretty good. Here's your first turn, Jarl, I'm going to steal your 9. And then
Right.
whatever. Jarls can always steal oarsmen.
Okay.
So
What does it become? They're just another Jarl then, or
yeah, it would just combine with you. It doesn't really become anything. It just acts like it.
okay.
So it doesn't become a 10. It just allows you to attack if you had two
okay.
10s. So
It's still a
yeah,
0.
yeah. So there is and it says and place it onto one of your longboats. So in theory, if you wanted to get back at me for this turn, right? I put down this thing that's going to be really hard for you to beat. You could put down 2 10s here, and then 6 and when you play the Jarl, steal my 0. And now you can attack with like combined boats, and your 16 will be my 10,
Sure.
and then our 2 10s will wipe each other out, and you'll be left with a 10 and a 6, and I'd be left with a 9. So, so that's what the Jarl does. The Norn just draws 1 additional warrior, so you play that, draw another card. Then you can, of course, just play that card too. And then the Valkyrie will kill 1 played warrior. So I could simply play my Valkyrie, kill your Jarl, and it's gone. And it goes to discard. It goes to Valhalla, I believe,
I would assume
which
so.
is which is the
Where
discard
warriors
pile.
go.
That makes me
So,
happy.
Yeah,
Oh, this game was fun.
and I think that is it. So at the game, gameplay continues until the final warrior card is drawn. At this point, the player who drew the final card finishes their turn, and then their opponent gets 1 final turn.
Oh, great.
The player with the least raid damage at the end of the game wins. To calculate damage, add up the cards you've received from your opponent as damage.
Nice and simple.
Yep.
So
just
the
add up
warriors.
the warriors. So anything that's not a 10 is worth 1 point. The elite warriors, which are the 10s, are worth 2 points. The Well of Mimir is also worth 2 points, and Ragnarok is worth 3 points.
But they'll have that written on them.
Yeah, and they all have
Still
that written
hexes.
on them. Yep. So
Okay.
you just basically, at the end of the game, you just kind of stack up all your damage like that. 1, 1, 2. I have 4. Chelsea has 1. She's the winner.
I want to know how many cards are left in the warrior deck after we draw our hands. But we'll do that off camera.
Okay. Yep. So, any other questions? Anybody?
Nope, you
Good enough
answered
to get
everything
started?
I had questions about.
Yep.
And
All
that's
right.
just for the 2 versus 2, or did we
Yes.
wanna discuss
So,
the variant?
yeah. So for the 3-player variant,
3 to 4.
3 to 4 player variant, we're going to use both decks. So we have a second deck. We're going to use both warrior decks to give us some more cards to play with. And then the only difference in play when you have more than 2 players is you can only attack the player to the left of you, and you defend, obviously, then against the player on your right. So in this scenario, I could attack Chelsea. Chelsea could attack Colin. Colin would attack Drew. Drew would attack me.
Okay.
And then after, like, I was dead, or if I get, or no, I'm sorry, we just go until the end, and then
Yeah.
raid damage. Is
Yeah,
raid
you
damage.
never
No
die.
one gets knocked out. Yeah. Okay.
Vikings never die.
Right. And then there's also a
draft.
tournament. Oh yeah, there's a draft variant where you can pick your cards out in the beginning, but we'll go over that kind of as we're doing it. Basically, you're going to lay out an extra row of cards and be able to kind of cherry pick your hand out of them.
Okay. And we'll be doing those 3 different game modes.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
going to be trying them all out.